Welcome to ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy, and spoilers for The Boys Season 2 finale are ahead. Well, now we know that the head popper was actually Victoria Neuman all along.
What?
I went back and rewatched the season, and there are many subtle clues that she was responsible. First of all, how can you trust a politician, am I right? But the biggest clue actually came from the comics. Victoria Neuman is a gender-swapped version of Vic the Veep. In the Boys comics, Vic is a total moron who calls condoms "my dicky hat," but he's the vice president of the United States, and he does whatever Vought tells him to do. This includes knocking out the president on 9/11 so the Supes could respond to one of the hijackings. So of course, the new version of Vic the Veep, Victoria Neuman, would be in the pocket of Vought. But they misdirected us by basing her on progressive Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, right down to the mention of her dance video.
Didn't you love that little walk like an Egyptian dance you did online? So fun.
The first clue was in episode 1. Raynor's head blows, and the boys are scrambling back in the van. And then MM asks Frenchie,
Frenchie, who do you know who can do that? No one!
And then we cut straight to Victoria Neuman. Stan Edgar is watching her when Homelander comes in for a visit. And if you notice, he's always watching her give statements on NNC instead of monitoring Vought News, which he's the CEO of. In this episode 1 soundbite, she says,
"But that does not mean that Vought can use that fear to control us."
and that's exactly what she's doing for Vought. Later, she creates a fake terrorist attack to sell Compound V to the government. Also, as a member of the government involved in Supe oversight, she would have been aware of Raynor's activities and who she was going to meet that day.
I've been trying to put this puzzle together, and there's a missing piece, and it's been driving me nuts, and I think you just handed it.
In episode 3, after Compound V is outed, Stan Edgar is once again watching Victoria Neuman on the news.
My dad always used to say, where there's smoke, there's fire. So Vought lied to us about Compound V. What else are they lying to us about?
Which she says as she's deceiving the public. But I did have another thought about why Edgar is always watching her. She mentions twice that she has a daughter.
I have a daughter.
How can I stay quiet and still look my daughter in the eyes?
So it could be that Vought has kidnapped her child and they're holding her for ransom, forcing Neuman to do their dirty work. Now here's an interesting wrinkle. Supes can't usually have children. Ryan is supposed to be the first child born from a Supe.
Are the first natural-born superhero.
This tells me that Neuman might have been one of the first adults that was injected with Compound V. This would also fit in with the Boys trope of showing that villains have kids in order to make them more likable.
Or how the sexual deviant has a kid.
On to episode 5, where we're shown A-Train shooting a fake adventure in a fake city, talking to a fake Homelander, and then we cut to a fake progressive Victoria Neuman.
Yes, it's true.
At that rally, she says,
Vought has all the money and the power.
which, in hindsight, is like telling these supporters that everything actually is hopeless. You have nothing and this is all a sham. But notice when Homelander interrupts her rally, she never takes her eyes off of him. Now this is one of the limitations to her power. She has to have someone in her line of sight in order to make their head go pop. Now as a Vought employee, she would know how fragile Homelander's ego actually is. So she's watching him, ready to pop off his head in case he does something to the crowd, which he totally wanted to do. Now you might be wondering, why would Vought stoke opposition to their agenda? Well, it's actually a brilliant tactical move. Stan Edgar knows that Vought will face some kind of political opposition, so he decides to control that opposition. It's much like 1984, when all the three superpowers agree to always be at war with one another and never achieve victory. Or, if you're not a reader, it's like the Clone Wars, where Palpatine controls both the Separatists and the Republic in order to distract them from his grab for power. And this is also like real-life politics. Corporations and lobbies donate money to both sides of the aisle, especially if it looks like one of them is going to dominate in an election. Then in episode 7, Neuman interviews Lamplighter. When her chief of staff questions why Butcher is there, Neuman points out,
Mr. Butcher here has fought Vought harder than we ever have.
yeah, no shit, because you don't fight Vought at all. Now she also does not think Lamplighter is a strong enough witness by himself.
But yeah, he'll be a good witness. It's not enough though.
This is because she wants to draw out any more potential liabilities to Vought. This is a golden opportunity to wipe all of Vought's enemies off the board at the same time. Or, as she puts it,
We're gonna take a shot at the king. We can't Miss.
Then let's look at the main event, that hearing where people blew up like Bibi Bobkas. She is looking at the chairman when his head explodes. If we don't see her look at Vogelbaum, but she is scanning the crowd quickly as heads are popping all around her. This is why she didn't run away. She wasn't shell-shocked, she was blowing people up. Like right here, she looks in two directions and then two heads explode, pop pop, including Shockwave. When Mallory is pulling her away, she looks back at her chief of staff only to see her head pop too. Then she uses that as a chance to fake shell shock again, lean back in a chair, and then pop several more heads in the crowd. And in the final episode, when Jim Beaver announces the president's plans,
he's declaring a national emergency, bypassing the FDA, and authorizing Compound V for use by law enforcement and first responders.
Are you f***ing kidding me?
she looks surprised, because this is probably the first time anyone at Vought has heard about the president's decision. She even cracks a little bit of a smile. And listen to how Jim Beaver describes the price.
Doses are going for $5 million a pop.
Pop. Nice touch. The best part of looking back on all this is to see how often she actually tells the truth, like how Vought has all the power, or this.
Look, there was no terrorist. It was Vought. It's a f***ing coup.
And also this.
A bunch of their guys died too.
To cover their own tracks.
Because she's the one who made sure to crush the head of her own chief of staff. And when she asks,
Okay, what if we got hard proof? A witness, anything.
she's actually probing for weakness. She wants to find any threat to Vought and neutralize it. And also, there's the last thing she says to Adana.
See you soon.
She ends this episode by essentially bringing Huey under Vought control. The closing song is Billy Joel's Only the Good Die Young. Yes, Huey's obsessed with Billy Joel, but also the song is about a bad boy seducing a good Catholic girl. In the same way, Victoria is drawing Huey over to the wrong side of the tracks. Well, that's all the clues I noticed, but if you found any, at me on Twitter or leave me a comment. And if you figured all of this out earlier, then congratulations. You're amazing. And if you're new here, please subscribe. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.